Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is 12:15, so I'm going to get underway. I expect a few more people to be joining us. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Madeline Key, and I've been interviewing inventors for more than 15 years. Today, I write about the innovation ecosystem for Forbes. I'm so proud to be here on behalf of IDiyas, a website that harnesses utility patent data to illuminate the impact of inventors. Our goal is to celebrate inventors and their ideas, and this is our first event of many to come. Before I introduce our esteemed guest, inventor Igor Jablokov, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Patent Awards. For nearly 30 years, the Patent Awards team in Warsaw, Indiana, has been handcrafting beautiful awards, including frames and plaques for individuals and Fortune 500 companies worldwide to celebrate the issuing of a new patent. You worked too hard not to recognize this moment. At this time, we would love it if you would please turn your camera on, share in the chat box where you're attending from if you have not done so already, and please write in a question for Igor as well. Okay, now, the reason we're all gathered here today is to learn from this remarkable individual. Igor is the CEO and founder of Pryon. He was named an industry luminary by Speech Technology magazine. He previously founded industry pioneer Yap, the world's first high accuracy, fully automated cloud platform for voice recognition. After its products were deployed by dozens of enterprises, the company became Amazon's first AI-related acquisition. The firm's inventions then served as the nucleus for follow-on products such as Alexa, Echo, and Fire TV. As a program director at IBM, Igor led the team that designed the precursor to Watson and developed the world's first multimodal web browser. He was awarded Eisenhower and Truman National Security Fellowships to explore and expand the role of entrepreneurship and venture capital in addressing geopolitical concerns. As an innovator in human language technologies, he believes in fostering career and educational opportunities for others entering STEM fields. He holds a BS in computer engineering from the Pennsylvania State University, where he was named, to no surprise, an outstanding engineering alumnus, and an MBA from the University of North Carolina. I have some fantastic questions prepared for Igor, but I also really hope that you share yours as well. Igor, to get started, I've heard that inventing runs in your family. I'm curious, were creativity and problem solving part of your life growing up? How so?
Yeah, actually, our parents are both artists. So I think what's interesting about artificial intelligence, it feels like opera, right? Where opera is this multidisciplinary art form that has, sight, sound, theater, costumes, sets, and things of that sort. That's what really drew me into artificial intelligence. So we really did have a Renaissance upbringing where we actually got to play with a lot of different paths.
Did you consider yourself an inventor as you were growing up, or was that something you conceptualized that you wanted to do, or when did that realization occur for you?
I don't know that I ever had it until this appearance happened. I don't think we consider ourselves such things. We all have a role to play in our respective communities, and it's incumbent on us that have a level of upbringing, educations, and things of that sort. To tinker and create better solutions to things that people are challenged with on a day-to-day basis, because the mere fact that we exist in these communities are because other people did similar for us, in generations past. As a species, that's what we do, is we concoct interesting and novel solutions to everyday challenges, and we're just a link in that chain.
Something that I've read that you have said is that we are all entrepreneurs, that it's a human instinct to solve a problem. Something that I'm wondering is many of the inventors that I know who do identify that way, they like solving problems. They're not necessarily taking the leap into entrepreneurship. So I'm wondering if you could bring us back to that moment when you left IBM to found Yap. What was your mindset at that time? What was that decision like for you?
Yeah, so a peer Eisenhower fellow by the name of Steve Welch, who co-founded Dream Inventors up in the Philadelphia area, literally authored a book called "We're All Born Entrepreneurs." Right, so we all know how to tinker and play with these things when we're younger. The mere fact of starting a company, you can think about it as it's water around a rock, right? So, many of us are entrepreneurs in these large scale organizations. And when we try to will something into creation, and for whatever reason, things get stymied or it's premature for them to invest in a particular mission, we end up departing some of these large scale, academic or commercial environments or government environments in order to create these efforts. So this could have been IBM's, but it became a startup, and then it became Amazon's. After a while, I was actually mentioning this to somebody yesterday. The way that you know that you need to create one of these things is when you actually look around and say, wow, gosh, I know something like this should exist. And then you look around again, it's like, wow, gosh, I'm the one that's supposed to make it because of the special confluence of your own abilities, the network around you. At a moment in time, there's really nobody else that has that subject matter expertise, and you just have to lean forward and get it done.
I think that makes a lot of sense that I've had that own experience of why doesn't this exist, or I want to see this change occurring, and then pausing and realizing, well, maybe I should be the one to do it. Did that realization unfold for you over months or years? Did you get ready to do that, or was it maybe a flash of, okay, now the time is now? Because timing seems to play such an important role in the development of new products and services.
Yeah, it does. I would say it's a little bit of both. Think of it as a fault line, with an earthquake. So a lot of that pressure builds up over a large period of time, and then all of a sudden some trigger event happens where you get either point of inspiration, the proverbial lightning bolt that hits, the light bulb going off, right? And then all of a sudden everything's clear. And all the preparation and agitation and things like that you experienced in the past all come to a head. So I think it's a slow burn until, there's one or two or three important moments that finally tell you, yeah, we can go ahead and get this done.
I'm curious what your advice is for people who maybe know that they want to be involved in entrepreneurship, know that they want to contribute and make a meaningful change, but they're really not sure what specifically to focus on or where that idea is going to come from. What is your advice for maybe young people who are having that qualm of, I want to do what you've done, but where do I point?
Well, to do what many of us here collected, have done or still, have the ability to do, takes decades in some cases. Here's a little shortcut for you to know what you're supposed to create or what you're supposed to invent. Here's a thought experiment. What are you doing at 2:00 in the morning? When nobody else is looking, what's keeping you up at night that you're tinkering, right? Is there a form of art? Is there music? Is there certain films that are exciting you, certain documentaries, research papers that you're reading? When nobody is looking, what are you actually doing and really enjoying, that element of tinkering? Nobody has to, this is actually rather curious. I know on my desk, that you would think is a well-appointed office. There's still the same screwdriver from undergraduate that I used being a technician at Penn State, fixing people's PCs and things of that sort. So don't look at my fancy titles or anything of that sort. The fact that little screwdriver is still sitting on my desk being used is all you need to know, right? So, the proverbial, somebody starts in the mailroom and then works their way up in an organization because they just live and breathe, the mission of that organization. I mean, it's it's literally true if you look down at my desk. So it's the things that you're doing at 2 o'clock in the morning. You just need to make a career out of it.
Mm, mm,
Because then it's play. It's not work. You don't feel any weight, right? When you have issues, you don't fall to pieces. You just figure out a way to overcome that. Everything's surmountable then.
right. And what I love about that is you can't find that answer in market analysis. You can't go consult the experts to say, what's coming next. What you're saying is to look within yourself and to accept that something that you personally care about, that you're attracted to, it's probably going to be, I don't know if easier is the right word, but lead you to doing that meaningful work because you like it. And so you're going to want to do more of it. Is that the idea?
Yeah, look at everything that's happening in artificial intelligence here lately. What do you think people thought about AI 10, 20 years ago? It was nothing. It was doldrums. Nobody cared, right? And yet the fact that some of us were working in that field the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases, it just means that there's a personal investment in innovating in that particular field because we know it's our jobs to do that. And we have a high degree of interest in it as well. I have to say, with all the attention, being paid to AI right now, we have ugly duckling syndrome. We're so used to people saying that it's impossible, people will never adopt it. We're not sure what's the business case for the technology, the networks, the processing, the memory's not ready for it. There's no endpoints to consume it, meaning no channels, no devices to interact with it. We've heard this stuff for decades, right? But what did we do? Just keep chiseling away at it a little piece at a time. It's sort of like looking at a piece of marble. Well, to you and I, it's a rock, but what is it to Michelangelo?
Beautiful. I'm wondering when and how you realized that you were passionate about innovating in human language technologies.
What? There's one class that was stymieing me in undergraduate, one that I had to keep taking over and over again. And it was signal processing. For some reason, I couldn't get it. Other things were coming easier to me, like some of the nuclear engineering stuff and things of that sort. But it stymied me for some reason. I just couldn't get it, and yet it became my life's work, and it's the thing that I'm most well known for as well, which is a little bit counterintuitive. So I don't know. I don't know how to describe that.
And when you began working at IBM, was it on related to signals processing?
I mean, I started as a research engineer at IBM Microelectronics. What was really interesting about IBM at that time? Remember, this is before your OpenAIs and your Palantirs and your Facebooks and your Googles and the rest of them existed as well. It was a multinational business, so it allowed you to walk in many cultures' shoes, right, to see how technology would affect, humanity as a whole. They had, hardware, software, networking, the whole kit and caboodle from small to large as well. And so it really gave you a multidisciplinary experience. That's what was really exciting about starting a career there. Halfway through it, I kept sending little notes, ideas, right, to an early nascent AI team. And I think some of them kind of chuckled to themselves, saying, if you stop sending us emails, we'll let you lead it. Right, it was just too much, right? It was just starting to capture my imagination in terms of what possibilities existed.
Fascinating. I want to step forward a little bit, being mindful of our time, and to talk about Pryon. I encourage everyone here to closely review the Pryon website, not only because it's fascinating, but from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant. There's so many one-sentence benefit statements throughout that it's very easy to understand, even if you don't know much about AI. It says previously static content becomes an interactive experience within the same day it's deployed. Wow, that really took me back. Can you tell us a little bit about Pryon, what industries it's finding traction with, maybe what applications you're excited about? We'd all love to learn what you're working on today.
Yeah, I think let me anchor this in things that we worked on in the past. So a year after the last company was founded, we were secretly working with Apple on Siri before it was Siri. So that's how early we were working on these style of technologies, right? And obviously before that, it was the baby version of Watson, and then Alexa's born. So all of these things are cousins. But at the formation of this company, I was looking around and I'm like, why aren't these natural experiences in our workplaces? Why aren't they in critical infrastructure? Why don't essential workers have these style of natural language technologies? And so we realized, while Apple, Google, Amazon, and the rest of them pre-baked language models into things like the Amazon Echo and your iPhones and things of that sort, in order to come to these serious workplaces, we would have to show with an empty vessel that also could create a level of accuracy, scale, security, and speed that was, practically irrelevant to these more serious workspaces. And so that's what we started working on. How do we bring that thing that you use at home into a more serious environment? Well, where's the content? How do you train such an AI? Well, it's trapped all over, modern business organization, NGO, right? It's in your SharePoints, it's in your business applications like ServiceNow and Salesforce and SAP and Oracle Financials and DocuSign. It's in places like box folders and S3 buckets. It's in your organization. It's in partner organizations, right? It's all over the website. And it's in other people's websites. So the 4 Ps, right? Public content, published content that's licensed, that has to be licensed from others, proprietary content unique to your organization, or personal content unique to you. The reason why natural language is important is because we all knew how to speak before we learned how to read and write. It's the ultimate API for interacting with a human being, right? And humans are a critical part of knowledge workflows. We consume, curate, and contribute knowledge that drives our organization. Here's an interesting statistic. Everything that runs your respective organizations, only 5% of it is captured, is written down as authored or recorded content. The other 95% of it is trapped in human minds.
Yes.
And so what that means is it's of critical importance in order to find very natural ways of teasing out that tribal knowledge that actually really does run our respective organization and allows it to be actionable. And so our founding premise, and frankly speaking, if you look at our careers over the course of the last few decades, have been singularly minded of reducing the distance between knowledge and people, right? And that's why we're inspired by folks like Benjamin Franklin, because when you can actually go out and deliver the intelligence that people need in order to heighten the quality of their decisions, then everything is improving in our communities. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about educating a child, an electorate, physicians, dock workers, it doesn't matter. We all need to know something in order to do our jobs. And there's a lot of knowledge friction out there. And these are, a tool in order to, take a stab at improving that.
It's when you start to consider the impact that this will have, it's quite staggering. Also on your website, I read that you've invented technologies that reduce computing costs by several orders of magnitude, making it viable for nearly every commercial purpose. Wow. When there's so much potential, how have you decided what to focus on, or what's guiding you? Because I'm seeing the applications for knowledge management, but then there's so many more examples of that. There's just so many different ways to think about how this might be used. How are you unleashing it at scale, or trying to even figure out what those test cases are?
Yeah. What's the point of making an AI to help people study climate science when it's burning the earth while you're trying to do that? Right? So we have to create things that are energy efficient as we're trying to solve these things, right? So, I call shenanigans on some folks that are very sloppy with the way that they use these AI accelerators, also known as GPUs, right? Because it doesn't work at scale. right?
Yes.
So in some cases, one of the things that I have to give a lot of credit to our technology team is we find that nice balance between delivering accuracy and scale. And scale only happens with energy efficiency. If I told you, hey, I'm going to make an AI, but it can only read one page, literally one page, and it delivers 100% accuracy to you, it's an interesting parlor trick, but it's not anything that's really practical, for the scale of organizations that you all inhabit. On the flip side, if I said, hey, I can get you 1,000,000 pages, in the AI, now it starts becoming interesting. By the way, that's just like the basic, interest level for some of these large scale organizations. But then if I would have said, I can deliver you coin flip accuracy, literally 50%, you might as well be shaking a magic 8 ball while you're getting out of this AI. It's pointless. It can't be used for any serious purposes as well. And so that glide slope between accuracy and scale is really important to us as well. And it's an important topic, So instead of going out there and just playing buzzword bingo with things like responsible AI,
Yes.
don't preach it, practice it.
It's great advice. You encourage innovators to approach disruption from a loving place. Why is this important?
That's how you can tell the old guard from the new guard in AI. There's a phrase that gets banded out there that really agitates me. It's if software is eating the world, then AI is its teeth.
Right.
And that's puzzling to me, because honestly, those of us that got involved early on with artificial intelligence decided that AI was supposed to be its heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were doing this for accessibility reasons. We were creating things like machine translation to bridge cultures, right?
Yes.
We were working on things to safeguard all of you while you were, texting while driving, while you were, driving your various vehicles, so you wouldn't crash into trees and utility poles and things of that sort. Our chief scientist at the time was a blind fellow, who literally empathized. I have a friend, Brooke Allison, the first ever handicapped graduate of an Ivy League school. Christopher Reeve even did a movie about her life as well. The fact that we can have individuals like that be part of our innovation ecosystem, and all it took was, again, reducing a point of friction so that they can interact with the rest of us. That was very fulfilling to us. It wasn't about creating recommendation engines to shove more videos in front of children's faces or pollute the internet with advertisements, right? For you not to take a breath or step in any particular direction without somebody trying to influence you in one direction or another. That wasn't what we were foreseeing. You have to think of it this way. Many of us that were early on, right, created a hammer, a tool, right? And we envisioned proper uses like handing it into Jimmy Carter's hands so that he can build Habitat for Humanity. We did not envision somebody like Ted Bundy grabbing the same hammer and hitting people over the head with it.
It seems like to me that framework allows, instead of using fear, things are going to be completely different. The world is going to be unrecognizable. Approaching it from a loving standpoint is saying, you're going to benefit from this too. Here's how. Here's maybe the reasons behind this. And we're not seeing those come out much in the AI discussion. It's mostly being led by fear, as far as I can tell.
Which is very curious. I think maybe that fear comes from people not having direct experience with it, because I'll tell you this. Here's what AI does. It just does what a human does at scale. That's it. It's just like a synthetic being person, and we get to nurture it, right? So when some AI practitioners get in front of Congress and they say, well, there's a 50% chance that we're going to make a lot of money from this, or 50% chance that it's going to doom humanity, I'm like, let's turn this around. Imagine a child appears in front of you and says exactly the same thing. There's a 50% chance that I'm going to make a lot, or a 50% chance that I'm going to murder my parents in their sleep. What do we do at that point in time? We quickly correct the child and we're like, no, that's inappropriate. So a
Right.
lot of these folks that are getting in front of these politicians are like Marlboro men, talking about the dangers of cigarettes when all they can do is press a button and stop the cigarette factory.
Right. Right.
You can make these things, have a level of authenticity so they don't hallucinate. They don't do a lot of the things that people are calling as risks.
Yeah.
And yet, they're throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks.
Mm, mm. So things are moving too quickly. They're not necessarily being considered. And there's maybe an attitude of hands off. Oh, this is just happening, as opposed to humans are responsible for creating the AIs we're going to experience, the quality of them, and the type of impact that they have on our world.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind things going quickly, but a lot of the choices that they made were always considered taboos, in our field, right?
Got
Guess
it.
what? It's not usual for you to just consume the entire internet and ignore people's copyrights. That's not
Yeah.
a normal thing.
Thank you for saying that. It's encouraging to see the lawsuits, in my opinion, that are occurring as a result, because it brings into so many relevant questions about the value of copyright, which brings into question the value of other forms of intellectual property in an AI age.
So you asked, what are some of the other dangers and where are we installed? Well, our stuff's installed in nuclear power plants. All right. So in those places, guess what you don't want platforms like ours to do? No hallucinations.
Right.
Right? 3 Mile Island was within 30 minutes of causing a meltdown. 4 out of 6 conditions that caused that were knowledge management issues.
Mm.
The majority of them were knowledge management issues. And I have to give credit to those environments now that are adopting these style of technologies for outage and maintenance services and things of that sort. They're able to affect these outcomes and allow a certain capability that will actually half the downtime of such installations. And by doing so, let me connect a dot to something else that you said before. They're going to be able to half the downtime of nuclear power plants, which means what? They don't have to spin up fossil fuel burning plants to make up that shortfall, right? So these things have second order effects that could be negative or positive. It just depends on where we decide to push forward.
Well said. We're winding down here and have just a few minutes left. If people have questions for Igor, now is definitely the right time to enter them into the chat. I'm curious if you'll help us understand how AI could democratize technology, allowing us to be more creative and innovative. This is a room full of people who want to do just that, and maybe they're not sure how AI is going to help them.
Yeah, I mean, the best part is computing in general used to be for very few of us, right? That became mathematicians and computer scientists and data scientists and things of that sort. And as we now express that technology with more natural language interfaces, right? So think no-code style platforms, it widens the aperture so that more people can participate in the creation of these style of workflows. So I'm personally excited about that. I mean, think about the fact that with an Amazon Echo sitting in somebody's home, you have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old that can ask, why is the sky blue, and know nothing about logging onto the internet. There's no danger of them seeing anything on a screen, and yet now you have this frictionless device in order to start piquing somebody's curiosities. So that's what a lot of these technologies can now do for us all.
That's very exciting. I'm seeing a question that has come in from Edgar. He asks, knowledge friction, could this also be applied to other fields such as psychology? Could this be an analogy of Carl Jung's shadow concept? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, some people are thinking, could this be a digital twin of ours that can consume a lot of the content that we can't keep up with, right? So think about it ingesting all of our emails and things of that sort, or solving certain situations where we're not available, right? And working with our coworkers. That is a positive use of it. if we're literally talking about it being used, to support people in mental health and things of that sort, I'm a little bit wary of that. Because it ends up being a crutch, and it's not actually feeling and understanding what we're actually emoting to it. You have to think of these AIs as actors, right? It's like Catch Me If You Can, right? Where he's playing the role of a physician. Some of us in the audience, have family members that are physicians and attorneys, and we all know how they've grown when they're watching one of these TV shows that's in their respective fields, and they get something wrong in terms of a workflow or policy or procedure that to the rest of us as laypersons seems plausible enough, but it's not right. And that's what you have to understand, some of these systems do. And for those of us certainly that are not in that field, if we're thinking about taking that at scale, we won't know if we're causing, harm to folks that are being supported by such systems.
Sure. I've got one more question for us today from a Tim Kizzy, and I'm going to slightly alter it. Have you considered, Igor, using AI to help you with a patent application, or would you?
I don't think so. I mean, my parents are both artists. There's a painting behind my desk because my mother was asked to make an abstract painting, and yet instead she painted a dog. And I love this painting now. And had we asked her for a painting of a dog, we would have gotten an abstract painting. So one of the things, for all of you to wrap your mind around when you start thinking about leveraging these AIs in creative pursuits, is one of the dangers is that they may literally do exactly what we tell them to.
Mm-hmm.
And in those margins is where you actually get innovation. That's what we do. We're pseudo quantum computers, right? We take non-obvious object associations. We're inspired by cultures and the arts and sciences and every influence, our friends, our family members, our I can't hear you now.
You're back.
Okay.
And Madeline, I think you need to unmute as well.
Hello. Good now?
Yep.
Okay, well, Igor, it's 12:47. I want to be mindful of your time. I'm so pleased to see the smiling faces behind us. If you would consider anyone who hasn't turned on your camera to give us one last smile and wave and thank our guests for coming on and regaling us. Thank you, Igor. I appreciate it, and we all do. Like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the first event of many to come, and I would love to hear your feedback. If you enjoyed this session, what would make it even more meaningful for you? Who would you like to hear from? I could honestly listen to you speak all day, and it truly has been a pleasure having you here and getting to know you. On behalf of the entire IDiyas team, and Chelsea, thank you also very much for moderating this event on YouGo, a new platform, and I think it went really well.
Thanks for having me. Have a great rest of the day.
Wonderful. Bye, everyone. See you next time.